I will now speak just a little bit to the workshop that I did in Costa Rica because I think this could be helpful for some of us um, when it comes to practicing together. And the cool thing about practicing together and sharing space, and pretty much all the women inside of this web are doing this inside of their family units or their friend units. So this doesn't have to be like I'm teaching a breathwork class. This could be like I'm hanging out with my family one morning and I'm going to do breath work, invite them to sit with me. It doesn't have to be fancy. It doesn't have to be formal. You don't have to have a spiel written up. You don't have to have crystals or oracle cards or your Palo Santo. You literally just need to want to sit together. And the workshops over the week, Julie, our client, and she's just such a baddie, such a baddie. Oh my God. I love her so much. I'm supporting her as she's expanding into teaching workshops. And those of you that want to do workshops eventually, please let me know because we have a pretty awesome format for transformational workshops. But the theme of the retreat was self-expansion. So the first workshop she holds, she calls it and this is her signature workshop that she does on all of her retreats. It's called the Brutally Fucking Honest Circle. And it's where she just lays it all out, something she wants to get off her chest, her heart. She lets everybody journal, and then she just lets people speak into the space, just be brutally fucking honest with each other. And it's really cool because a lot of people are walking around not used to that level of realness and vulnerability right off the jump. And then the second workshop she did was called self-expansion. So it was very much directed towards what is the self needing to process and let go of in order to step into an expansion frequency where you're growing, hopping onto a new timeline. And then my workshop that I did in the second to last day on the beach was expanding together is what it was called. And so I took the lens of how we're all on this journey of learning to receive support and trust people. We're learning to receive support and trust people. And so that I kind of started with that rewiring that I know is happening for me and trust people, even while we're going to get proven that not everybody's trustworthy. It's both. Right. So, I spoke a lot to that. I spoke a lot to receiving support and trusting people is a pathway to receiving our manifestations, because your manifestations don't just drop out of the sky from God. They literally come through others, how you are collaborating, co-creating in relationship with others. Others hold the keys to your higher timelines. So I spoke to that. I kind of broke it into two parts, and I want to speak to the second part before we close it down with a meditation. So hopefully this will be helpful for you, Janelle. I know you have your journal out. So, but what I spoke to when it comes to expanding together and tapping into higher potential right now is what I call amplification biology. So this is the science part, amplification biology. And, we speak to this in the training, but I started with speaking to our measurable electromagnetic field. It's beautiful to go back to that right at the jump when you're doing a workshop or holding space for people that are brand new to this type of work, because it points to we are mostly wave form. And we have this measurable toroidal field that originates in our heart space, that is made up of our thoughts plus our emotions. Our thoughts, which are electricity, but don't always just come from our brain. Our electric state doesn't just come from our brain, which is why we're going to do the gut as well, because the gut has more neurons than the brain. So does the heart. But then our emotions, which give off the waveform, the magnetic frequency. So the waves that can be measured when we are existing and operating in this state of stress or frustration or anger or the more dense emotions that are especially connected to our pain body. To me, that's what so much of this journey is developing an empowering relationship with our pain body. I don't know that it ever fully goes away, the grief or the sadness or the trauma or any of that, but we get to choose the relationship we have with it. And society, the control matrix, all of that wants us to either push it down, numb it away, pretend it's not there, don't worry about it, don't think about it. But it's there. It's there, and everybody, literally everyone, is walking around with density in them, pain in them. Like, goodness, like when what our families have been through, and like everything generational, all these things. So to pretend it's not there is kind of silly. So we get to get language for it. We get to get experience with it. And that takes time. That's very vulnerable. And it contributes to our baseline frequency that we're emitting. Right. So speaking to what these emotions do to our field, the stress, the overwhelm, the anger, all this pain, emotions, it makes our field, our measurable field, erratic and jagged. So the waves become erratic. They're not smooth and balanced waves, and jagged. So a lot of spikes, a lot of ups and downs. And this is measured on, scientific devices. They can show this now. But when we're practicing coherence, when we're practicing deepening our breath, when we're practicing coming into a more whole self, and we start to just naturally be more in these states of gratitude, compassion, coherence, appreciation, presence, what it does to the waves that we give off, it makes them smooth. It makes them smooth and balanced. And just those waves alone are what's doing the work. That's it. Not what you're saying, not what you're wearing, not the amount of money in your bank account, not how much success you have. It's your waves. That's what's doing it. And the really cool thing with amplification biology is that we are so much stronger when we're doing this together. So we have our individual electromagnetic field, and then it gets how we amplify each other. So through the breath, through sitting with our breath, it's easier to start to obtain a more harmonious emotional state where that gratitude, that presence, and what happens is our heart rhythms start to synchronize. It's called physiological entrainment. Physiological entrainment. So the rhythms, our magnetic fields, start to sync. Our nervous systems can listen to each other. This is how a calm person can calm a room, and how a regulated person can regulate others. So when we are regulated, when we're in an open state, others can pick up those signals, and it just naturally starts to shift their body towards coherence. And you don't even have to be doing anything. You don't even have to be doing breath work when it comes to this part. This is through what mirror neurons. This is through vagal tones. So your vagus nerve, the tone of your voice that is connected to your vagus nerve, that is connected to all of your organs. This is what supports this. So the really cool part is when we establish heart coherence, when we establish these more uniform waves that we're just giving off and we're helping others jump into those states, our combined fields then merge and become stronger than the sum of the individual fields. That's very important for us to know. Become stronger than the sum. So this is how we're amplifying. So it's not just 1 + 1 = 2. It's 1 + 1 = 3. One person in a coherent field plus another person in a coherent field equals 3. There's this other thing happening. It's the field. It's the Trinity. And then you multiply it. You keep going, the more people you add. So the collective intention, whatever we're gathering for, which is why setting intentions when you're doing breath is so important. because you will have your individual intention. And then if you're holding space for a workshop or a class, then you could add in a collective intention, and it stabilizes it. It stabilizes it in the field. It makes it more powerful. And then the last thing I think I spoke to, yeah, just what this can do for our interactions. Because in a world that is pulling people into technology to merge with technology, and there will be people walking around fully merged with technology. They're gonna say yes to the chips. They're gonna say yes to interfacing with the technological realm. And at the same time, there are so many people starving for authentic human connection. And so it's just so cool to know that we have at our fingertips access to this very simple tool. Just breathe together. Just breathe together. I share the story of, I'll never forget, I've been wanting my dad to do breath work for a long time. And you can want it all day long for people, but they gotta want it. And so he doesn't really have a practice. My mom, she'll get on a practice and then it'll fall off, but she'll get on it. But my dad, I've gotten to the place where I've released his timeline on having a breathwork practice or stopping smoking or whatever to make himself healthy. And when there's a window and I can feel that he has a lot going on, I'll just ask him, do you want to take 10 breaths together? 10 breaths. And sometimes he'll start crying. Sometimes I could just feel the stress leaving. And he may never take that initiative to do it himself. But in a lot of the religious realms, it'll be like, do you want to pray together? Do you want to do this together? If we could just bring people back to the sacred space of an inhale and an exhale, nobody can take that away from them. And we all share it. So that's really all I wanted to speak to tonight in a teaching form. I hope that gives you guys some things to contemplate and feel into, as you are all stepping in, out, and forward.